Those who survived the battle, a few dozen or so, mostly women and children, were eventually taken to the Pine Ridge Reservation with the Ogallala Sioux, the very people they had asked to join even before going to Oklahoma.
In the meantime, the others, the group under Little Wolf had made it up to Montana. And the garrison station at Fort Kill, Montana, near present-day Miles City, came out and surrounded them and demanded that they lay down their arms and be prepared to move back to Oklahoma. This was Little Wolf's band. Little Wolf and the leaders of that band says, "No, we won't go back to Oklahoma. We'll die fighting up here." The garrison commander at Fort Kill was a little wiser than the one down here. So he engaged some of the Cheyennes that were working for the army to talk to their fellows, and in that way they were able to take the group into Fort Kill, where they were allowed to enlist in the army. So that's where the Cheyennes that survived the trek from Oklahoma were finally placed at Fort Kill, Montana. And then in November of 1879, a reservation was finally established in Montana on its present location on the Tun River in southeast Montana. And in 1890, the leaders of that group petitioned the authorities to bring those people that were in Fort or with the Ogallala Sioux in South Dakota be brought up to Montana to rejoin the rest of the Cheyennes, which was done in 1890. And that's where we are today. I live in a district called the White River Cheyenne District. And that's the reason they are called the White River is because of having lived on the White River in South Dakota. The General Conference Church came to the Cheyennes in 1880 in Oklahoma. And then later on they came to Montana in the early part of the following century. And many of them were baptized, including my grandmother, who was 14, the 14-year-old grandmother, who had been wounded at the outbreak here. She used to show us a scalp wound that she had on the right side of her head. She used to show that to us after she was quite old, and she never failed to ask the question, why did they do that to us? Meaning the white men. Why did they do this to us? Why did they chase us? Why did they fight us? When all we were doing was coming home. That's all we wanted to go was come home. But in December of 1940, she was baptized and became a member of the present-day White River Cheyenne Mennonite Church. And in August of 1941, she passed away in Busby, Montana. That's the greatest story I know of, forgiveness.
Whenever Ted Risingsun talks about what happened here at Fort Robinson, forgiveness is an important part of the story. Why is there no lingering bitterness toward those responsible?
Well, I believe it's because of my newfound belief. If my grandmother can forgive a person that shot her down here, can I do any less? And besides that, I think it's useless to feel bitterness about something that happened back in those days. I'd rather be concerned about what's happening today. I'd rather go to Washington and say, look, what's happened to that $2.3 billion that are missing of Indian monies? The Bureau cannot account for $2.3 billion. Indian money, individual Indian monies. How come our education isn't funded like everything else? Why is our employment 80% on our reservation? 80% of us are unemployed. Why is there a 50% dropout rates in our high school students? I'd rather ask those questions. Be concerned about present day.
The questions of today are no easier to answer than those posed more than a century ago by a people whose entire existence was altered by the greed of others. In the words of Chief Dull Knife, all we ask is to be allowed to live and to live in peace.